do women, modern day women collectively, right?
Yeah.
Do they really want to get married? Do you think they really want to get married?
I think that it's a conflict. I think they do because I think that's been ingrained in them, and also they're more geared for that type of bonding. You know what I mean? As far as even as like if we're looking at it just as far as nature goes, they're more vulnerable. They would fare much better if they had a man. So I think that that's in there, and I think as humans we all want to connect. But I also believe that they've been liberated in a sense that makes them no longer have to have a man. And then there's a certain level of freedom that comes with that. And if you want security, you have to give up some freedom. You know what I mean? And so I don't think that that's easy for a lot of women to give up this freedom in order to have a man.
Explain, what do you mean by freedom, though? What freedom?
Like basically freedom to do what you want to do. Like there was a time when women didn't have their own income or they didn't have a substantial income, so they needed a man to survive, But in the past, like when America went to, I think, the First and Second World War, when the women got into the workforce, they divorced their husbands, So it shows you that once they come up and get their own resources, they don't rely on us anymore. We become useful for a different purpose. And then they have the choice to say, I want to deal with this or I don't, as opposed to a woman who didn't have her own means. She had to kind of suck it up, but a woman today can say, this relationship doesn't make me happy, because that's kind of what we've made relationships about, personal happiness, when they used to be about duty, about community, about building and culture and all that type of stuff. And now it's about, how does this person make me happy? So women are seeking happiness in relationships, which is the wrong purpose of it. So that's going to, of course, lead to, being unsatisfied. But then there's also the aspect of, if you want me to protect you, you kind of have to submit to at least some level of my authority. And if you can make your own money, have your own house, have your own car, get a rose and, a dog and all that type of stuff, then you don't really need a man. It's hard to bring those two things together unless you're willing to change your mindset. You have to, like a child, for example, has no freedom. It's totally secure, though, with a good parent, totally secure, But as it gets older and older, it gets a bit more freedom and a little less security. And eventually it gets out there to where you are now responsible just for yourself. So you don't necessarily have any security, but you have 100% of the freedom. And that's where women are. They're now responsible for themselves. That was the fight, that some of them fought. And now they are free to do what they want to do.
Are women and men, are they showing or have they shared regret for not having a spouse as they've gotten older?
Some. I've heard, you said men and women? I haven't heard it too much from men, to be honest with you. Most of the men that I know are out of marriages now. They were married, now they're out of marriages. So I haven't heard it from too many men. I've heard them talk about things they would have done different in the marriage, Okay. All right. And well, as far as the women, what I've found is, yes, they do have that sense of regret, but then at the same time, it's almost like, but I get to do what I want to do, So that's what I mean, that conflict. It's like the freedom versus the security. You're out here on your own. You get to do what you want to do, but you're kind of out here on your own, So that they end up feeling that, but I guess they just kind of make do with it, because I see a lot of women doing that. You know what I'm saying? But then I see a lot of women also get to that stage in, like, say their 40s or whatever, and then start saying, I want a husband. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's what I'm saying earlier with the conflict. There's like a nature versus the nurture type thing where they're like, the message that they've been receiving is, I'm independent, I'm strong, I don't need no man. Like, men aren't as smart as us. Men aren't the ones who bring life into the world, all these different types of things. And it kind of makes them look down on men. And then they expect to find an equal doing that, or even not even an equal, somebody that they can look up to and admire. It's hard for them to bring those things together.
And what do you think the future is of the institution of marriage in the Black community?
I think, well, because of like what happened like through the 60s or whatever with the fatherlessness and all that, I think that we kind of have a, how am I trying to say it? Like we have, I think we have a greater desire to do it, to get to a place where we are a community, where it looks the way we imagine the 50s and the 40s and stuff, how our families were and our communities were. I think that we have that desire and that goal. So it kind of depends on like maybe the generation behind us or the one behind them. Like maybe like around the 15 age, I think it kind of depends on what they desire. You know, how they look at, like say for example, most of my generation at least we were raised by our mothers. So that gives us the desire to be the best fathers ever. You know what I mean? So I think that kind of skews the way things are going to go based on the desire of that generation. So I don't know what this generation is necessarily seeing, but I hear a lot more talk about returning back to conservative principles as far as like marriage, like what they say, the nuclear family and things like that. Those ideas are kind of like taking over. And it's becoming, what I'm hearing is it's becoming like the new rebellion, you know, to do it this way instead, you know, where there was the rebellion against religion. Seems like there's kind of like a return back to it because people see a value in what it brought, you know. So it depends on what I think that generation admires or dislikes about what we did as far as relationships, you know, what they see and don't like about us and want to go the opposite way. So if they're seeing a bunch of the dating culture and with the hookup culture and stuff like that, and they don't like the results, then I think that could bring that resurgence of people marrying, you know.